Welcome back, everyone. We got a brand new episode of the Business Breakthrough Podcast here, and we have a very special guest, an actual SBDC client that has been working with one of our amazing advisors. And so we've brought both of them onto the show to talk about the experience, what drove the idea for the business, especially at such a young age to launch a business and to be successful and to keep pushing forward. It's amazing. So first, I wanted to introduce her advisor really quickly. Christina, would you mind giving the audience a quick introduction to yourself and your background?
Hi, I'm Christina Loja. I'm one of the Small Business Development Center's advisor here at Farmingdale College. I've been working here since 2013, and I've been helping a lot of clients just start a business with a business plan. And more recently, now I'm working with this the new program that I'm going to be talking about later on in the program.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in from not so close by. And Kimberly Minto, I am so excited for this conversation. I hope you feel the same.
I do.
Good. If you wouldn't mind, give us a little bit of your background and.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Kimberly Minto. I decided to start a business, which was a digital magazine, after not being able to land a traditional job. I didn't think I'd be an entrepreneur. I kind of really just fell into it after trying to find something to do after the whole mental back and forth of going on interviews and we like you, but it's not really going to work out. And I'd have to wonder whether or not my disability played a factor in that. So I kind of turned to something that I did love talking about, fashion. I was always kind of that kid that played in my mom's makeup, made a mess of her clothes, but it was always something that I loved to do. And I kind of just started blogging about it over the summer right before the pandemic. And then I got tired of the blog and I was like, there's no digital magazine for women with disabilities. There's fashion out there. There's disability magazines, but there's nothing that melts the two. And I didn't see it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to create it.
Talk about the complete and full embodiment of what it means to be an entrepreneur. And it's identifying something that's not out there that is actually of value for others. So I'm curious on that kind of background, when you had the idea, when you saw that one didn't exist, were you in communication with like friends and people that were also interested? Like, how did you, I guess the question I'm really getting at is, how did you kind of validate interest in this idea?
See, that's the funny thing when you said I was young to start this business, because I actually had the idea years ago and I wasn't sure what to do. I was like, no, I'll go the traditional route. This isn't going to work for me as a disabled person. I'm not sure that I can do this. But what I decided to do was, I've always loved it. And for me and my friends, they would come and talk to me. Oh, what should I wear for this? What should I wear for that? And we kind of just talk about like what fits us and our disabled bodies versus what's out there and what's trending. So then after I kind of just started writing about it, I would go in some groups on Facebook and talk with friends, and they would all be like, okay, some would say this does work, and others would not see the value, honestly. So I had to decide whether I was going to listen to the first group or the second. And I kind of went with the first group because in the end of the day, I know this was a struggle for me, but, and I wasn't the only one. So even if not everybody sees the value in that idea, I know that it's something that group is going to get the value, and I have to focus on them right now.
That's perfect. Like, yeah, your attitude and your thought process through this is something that every entrepreneur out there needs to take, because some people focus way too much on the negative feedback, like, oh, there's no interest in here. And it's kind of a natural human instinct to focus on the negative, as it's a risk aversion. Like, oh, okay, well, if people are saying that this isn't a good idea, or they're not interested, then it must not be. But right. The fact your first validation set was yourself. You're like, this is this is something that I find valuable and that I enjoy talking about. So one, you're getting this kind of circle in the Venn diagram of like passion,
Right.
but then a passion alone doesn't make a business, right? There has to be people out there that are interested in getting, so your passion has to be felt by others.
Right.
And so you validated that, like within your own network, and then going into Facebook groups, and like you're establishing there are people that are out there that want this. And one of the things that most businesses, especially in the early days, stumble over, and Christina, by all means, confirm or deny this, but they try to make a product or a service for everybody, and without thinking about, who is my target market. And you're very niche down, with who your focus area is. So I'm curious, and maybe this goes to the idea of like, what is the service and what is the value you're providing? So you talked about there's a digital magazine. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little screen share, I'd like to be able to show the world this. Amazing. Okay. So, is it can the audience see it? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So now we have your website. So the website for everyone is sittingbeauty.com. And you can see Kimberly's right there displayed beautifully on the front. So talk to us about the website and kind of what are you looking to, like, what value are you looking to add into people's lives through the magazine? And by all means, Sarah, you can check.
It was started actually as a blog, like I said, and then in 2023, last year, I decided to launch it into a digital magazine. And my friend let me know about the Viscardi Center hosting an entrepreneurship program. And I decided to apply. It was a program that was all about the entrepreneurship journey and the mindset. So you have to learn how to change your mindset to be an entrepreneur, because there are a lot of things that people don't consider. And I did fall into that trap. But
I'm so curious about what some of those were.
But, right. So then I ended up pitching. There was a competition at the end. I pitched the competition. I ended up winning some money to start my digital magazine. So here we are. And the magazine talks about fashion, beauty, and adaptive brands and disabled representation. There's a big market for adaptive fashion out there. As you can tell, it's growing. It's been growing since Tommy Hilfiger, even before then. But I feel like he brought it to the main stage for people. That's my personal opinion. But for that, it was growing, and people still don't know what adaptive brands are out there. Even when I'm doing research for articles, I learn about brands that existed 4 or 5 years ago. And so that's the thing. People with disabilities need to know about these brands. I'm lucky enough that I can wear regular clothing or adaptive clothing, but sometimes you have to choose the adaptive version because that's what's going to fit for your body type. And you can't choose it if you don't know it exists.
100%. No, and so you're providing us kind of a centralized resource of this information for people.
Right.
But then you're also, can you pull up the magazine again? I want to flip through some of these pages and check this thing out.
Okay.
Because I've gone through it already myself.
Thank you.
Of course. No, it was great. So can you go full screen with this, please, Sarah? You're amazing. Wonderful. Yes. Sitting there it is. The premiere issue, numero uno. Let's go. All right. Can you take us through a couple pages real quick? Let's see. Hey, look, there we are. Go. Yeah, go ahead. Go to the next. Okay, great. So in here you have welcome to the world of sitting. And so, can you recall or kind of capture like how you introduced this, or?
It's basically what I've talked a little bit about already. I kind of wanted to explain to people why I decided to choose to start this magazine and what it really is about. The adaptive fashion piece that I was just talking about, it's so important, but it's really only one piece of it. There's disability representation in terms of movies and all over entertainment. You don't even see many people with disabilities in like media in so many different ways. So that's something that I wanted to cover. So right now I'm talking about fashion and beauty, But eventually I'd like to also talk about what's happening in the entertainment space, even though that's not a space that I'm personally in and I have no desire to be in.
Right, you're on the show. She's international now.
But it's important for young girls and women to see that, okay, you have an actor or an actress who's in a movie or in a show, and they don't have to wonder whether or not that person actually has a disability, because that's something that I saw so many times when I'd watch shows, and I'd look at and I'd see a person in a wheelchair, and then I'd Google them and they weren't actually disabled, and that was so disheartening as a teenager and as a young woman now still trying to look for that representation.
Yeah, and there's absolutely something to being able to see people like performing in different jobs and in different high level professions, and to create a model for younger people. So younger people with disabilities, if you're seeing actual people in big movies, blockbuster movies that have actual disabilities and they're not actors, portraying somebody with a disability,
right,
that kind of changes the scope, and it gives you like, this is something that's possible.
Right. Sitting Beauty is just basically, it boils down to something that I wish I had growing up. And so even as an entrepreneur, like I said, I didn't think I'd fall into that role. But if 5-10 years from now, or even now, someone finds my website and shows it to their little sister, and like, oh, she started her own business, I can do that too, then I've done my job. I've reached somebody that changes things for me. That makes this and all the struggles, and I have to tell you, there have been struggles going through this whole thing. It makes it worth it.
Yeah, I definitely want to dive into those struggles. Like, cause I think it's important for people to understand, because they see you here, you look great, you're communicating amazingly. We have your online digital magazine up here. And so some people get motivated by this and some people get disheartened at this point of the story, because they're saying like, oh, she did it. How would I ever do such a thing? I have so many obstacles in my own way. So what were some of the major obstacles that you had to overcome along this way? I mean, I know we talked about the jobs, like that's insane.
How much time do we have?
Oh Lord. Oh.
No. Yeah, for the jobs thing, it really was a whole mental mindset, because even for me, I had to get over that whole point of, if I can't get a job as a person in business, like I have a bachelor's in marketing from Oxford. If I can't get an entry-level job in business, what makes me think that I can start my own? Like, that's going from, oh, you're only responsible for this tiny little thing, to all the decisions are yours. And that is still such a shift. And it's a shift that Christina is helping me work through, because she is my advisor for the SBDC, and she has been amazing. So
I wholeheartedly agree. I vote yes.
Yeah. But so for that part of it, there's been a struggle. And I don't know how much time I spent on the phone with tech support trying to fix one issue or another. And I'm like, I can't do this. I would be calling tech support at 11:30 at night, because their hours and where they're located is different. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna go to sleep right now. I'm just gonna do this. Or the week before I was supposed to launch, I thought my computer got a virus. So
of course.
Just like,
you understand, there was some stuff, the audience isn't privy to this. There were some obstacles to us getting this podcast going that Kimberly got firsthand experience with.
And like I said, for me, it's just, okay.
Yeah.
Let me know when you're ready, because
patience.
It is.
But the mindset there is extremely powerful that you were talking about. When it comes to that one pushing through, but really, like, the thing that comes up is a lot of times people will say, I'm interested in owning my own business. I'm interested in becoming an entrepreneur because I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to set my own hours. If I'm going to work, I'd rather do it for me. And so my counter to them, in which your story embodies fully, is you can work 40 hours a week for somebody else. If you want to work for yourself, that's going to be 100 hours a week. And it's not going to be the hours that you set, especially for the first 2 to 3 years of your business. And you perfectly embody that when you were talking about, yeah, I'm on the phone at 11:30 because yeah, I can run my business however I want, but if I need this problem solved, their hours are different than mine. You know, I have to do this on their schedule. And so there's all of those hats you have to wear and addressing all of those problems. It's a lot. And so the fact that not only did you decide that you're going to embark upon this journey, but you also have the follow through to the dedication. Like, yeah, I'm going to be up at 11:30 at night. You know, I'm going to do the things that other people aren't willing to do to make sure that this is successful. It's very powerful.
Would you believe me if I told you that you were talking about there being two sides of people being inspired and people being disheartened? Looking at other people's stories, I got disheartened. I'm like, am I going to be able to get to that point one day? Sometimes I still think that, but I know Christina won't let me stay in that mindset for long. But, you know, I know that I have to just keep going, and one day, like, I said to my mom the other day, because she's been a huge support to me as well, editing my articles, and she didn't want the job, but I gave it to her anyway. But
voluntold. That's what we say in the military. You're voluntold.
Yes. So it's basically like, I just have to keep going. And I told her, right now, this is a struggle, and I'm feeling like every bit of it. But a year or two from now, I'll look back on it and I will be grateful. Haven't gotten there yet, but
what a perspective. And it's the whole delayed gratification thing. And I don't want to go off on a whole tirade about it, but if people aren't familiar with the marshmallow test, we are nothing but going through a series of marshmallow tests throughout our life. It's basically they put a marshmallow in front of a child who's sitting at a table. They say if you don't eat the marshmallow, I'll be back in 5 minutes and I'll bring you two. Mm-hmm. And so the whole idea is about delayed gratification. And so life is nothing but a series of how long can you delay gratification. And so you have that perspective already of I'm willing to look to do the grind and do the hard work and not eat that marshmallow for a couple of years, you know, and then to look, just understand. And if success comes earlier, obviously, you know, that's fine. That's acceptable. Can you go into your experience? Like, how did you discover the SBDC? How did we come in as a part of the story? And how did Christina become kind of like your partner in this?
The Viscardi Center has been amazing with helping me and keeping up resources. So they introduced me to the SBDC when I won the competition. And I was like, they're like, oh, you should apply. And I was like, I'm not sure. What do I do now? Like, it really has been, I don't want you to think I just had this mindset to go, go, go. It's been a back and forth of like, okay, go. It's not a straight line. Don't let anybody tell you it is ever a straight line. Even with your own mindset, it's not. So when I joined the SBDC, I wasn't sure about it. And my mom and Christine have been amazing. And I told my mom after my first or second meeting with Christina, I said, you know, I feel like I'm just tying my sneakers for a track race and she's giving me nitro. And it was like, but now it's like the best thing ever because I know like she's giving me the tools and the support that I need to get things done. And I can see it paying off in small ways for right now. And that's going to set me up for bigger success.
Absolutely. Building that foundation. I'm curious, Kimberly, actually, when it comes to these meetings, these get-togethers, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been, I wasn't sure about it, to be honest, because despite what it seems, I'm kind of like a reserved person and shy sometimes. So when she told me about the group, and I was like, I'm not sure, but I got on and I listened, and a lot of the other entrepreneurs, they just told their story, and I realized that we were all going through similar struggles, and if they were somewhere where I wasn't yet, then I learned from them and vice versa. I was having a problem with an aspect of my website, and I just happened to mention it in the group as more so of a vent, and this whole thing is going, wrong again. And another group member was just like, well, you could try this, and I was like, oh, okay. So it's giving you more resources, even more so than just your advisor.
Right. Yeah. Especially because there's different places to get information and to learn and develop skills through. there's business advisors are gonna be there to help with the development of the business, but there's a lot of the kind of minutia and the development and the internal workings. It's almost like the business advisors really help to work on the business, but you as the owner, especially as a solopreneur, you have to work in the business and on the business. So you have a great resource to help you on the business, but the people in your network and in your community that are experiencing the same thing, also entrepreneurs, they're experiencing those same struggles, just like you said.
Right.
And so they've encountered some obstacles already that you're running into now. And like, oh, when I ran into that, then this happened.
And then they also have their own levels of experience and backgrounds that can give you advice. And like, if you're trying to work with a certain company for something, they're like, oh, I worked in this. This is what you should do. This is what you should look for. So you don't fall into that pitfall, because yes, you're starting your own business, but going up with these big companies and trying to partner and things can be intimidating. And I'm not going to lie, the disability part of it is still going to be an aspect of the mindset that's always going to be there, and you have to work through that. So having people with not with the same disabilities necessarily, but can understand that mindset and doubting it a bit and learning to work around it is extremely helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a brilliant move when you find something that works. And this applies, I mean, obviously for the network groups, but it also applies for business. When you encounter something that you try and you experiment with and you're like, oh, that worked. It's like, well, we should probably do more of that. We should probably do more of that. So it's just one of those small little key takeaways. Now I'm curious, looking forward, you had touched on some of the things that you want to do. Do you have some specific goals that you're looking to hit? Like, do you have like benchmarks, or like, how are you envisioning the next 3 to 5 years of the business?
For me, I want to get this magazine set up and running, hire writers, and so I don't have to be doing everything. Hire writers and have a small team working with me, understands my mission, and can reach out and work with that group to create content that's going to make an impact within the community. After that, after I'm sure that's set up, I kind of maybe am thinking about a foray into doing a podcast, but I don't know after all these challenges. But
No. It's much easier than we made it look today. I promise.
I promise today's nonsense is not normal nonsense. The nonsense was setting up. We had some technical difficulties that we couldn't sort through, but
we need to get some sage in here. That's the determination. We have to do some cleansing of some spirits in
this
here.
ghost is just having fun jiggling all over wires.
But in all honesty, after the magazine and everything, it's always been my dream to have a brand of Sitting Beauty, brand of not necessarily makeup, but maybe makeup tools, and be collaborating with brands who are doing adaptive fashion, who can understand that, yes, I know that they do have people who have disabilities collaborating on their adaptive lines now, but I'd like to be able to grow the Sitting Beauty brand so that when I say like, oh, yes, I'm collaborating with this brand on this idea, then they truly know, so they know my product and they know that I truly understand what it is that they need in terms of adaptive fashion and are willing to take a chance on that line because the Sitting Beauty name is attached to it. That's hopefully something that I'm going to try. We'll see how that goes.
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes you have to feel it. I actually have, I have a colleague, if you will, or an associate, somebody that we've done some work, a little bit of work together, some collaboration, and he's becoming more and more prolific in the online, like kind of social media space. And he's a huge advocate of the allied community, and that does shows on a regular basis that are getting more and more and more attention. I definitely want to, I haven't asked this permission. I didn't even think about it before this conversation, but after the show, I'll definitely try to get you guys connected because I think it'll be really good for both of you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course. And he's a sweetheart of a guy. First name's Cam. That's all I'm going to say. No, so that's great. I guess now what I wanted to look at was when it comes to other people, we talked about some people being inspired and some people, kind of feeling the opposite way when they see other people's success. If there are other young individuals with disabilities that are trying to find a way in the world, but they're running into similar problems such as yourself when they're going out for these jobs that they're more than qualified for, but they're not finding a good fit or a position for themselves. And they're like, well, Kimberly's pretty inspiring. You know, I think I want to start maybe I'll dip my toe into this entrepreneurship space. What would be kind of like your first step that you would tell them to take, and then just any guidance or tips that you would give them for along the way?
Well, do your research. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be an idea that's going to make you money. It has to make you money. Otherwise, you just have a very expensive hobby. And as Christina pointed out in one meeting, you have to be willing to ask for help and collaborate with people. Anybody who tells you that they did this on their own they're not telling you the truth. And again, like I said, when I had the idea a few years ago, my blogging idea, I was trying to do it on my own. I didn't talk about it because I'm like, oh, nobody's going to take this seriously. You know, again, who am I to do this? But I took a chance doing the competition at my friend's persistence, and now I'm here. That all led to this. So talking about your idea, even if you don't share it with a big group of people, share it with that person who you know is going to push you when you're like, no, I want to give up. Or, no, I'm not going to fight with this tech support today. I'm just going to go to sleep instead. The friend who's going to push you to do that. And then also make sure that you have the friend that's going to pull you away from your computer. I think there are a few times that my family members have threatened to hide it. Oh.
And they're looking out for you. They're looking out for you.
Because you need that. Your work, you can be passionate about it, and I hope that's coming across with what I'm talking about. But you have to have a separate thing where you're not talking about what you're doing. You go back to other interests that you had, whether it's reading or, TV shows, something. And it's not that you're putting on the TV show while you're working. No, your mind has to be completely focused on something else.
That is the truth. I can personally attest to that. So what would you say, if someone's trying to come up with an idea, they're motivated and they want to get into the business ownership or entrepreneur space, but they're not exactly sure what to do. Do you have any sort of tips or guidance for them for developing that idea?
I would say look at your own life and look at what you're passionate about. If you're not sure what that is, ask the people who know you, and that's advice that I've had. Ask the people or think about what they're always coming to you about. My friends were always asking me, like, should I wear these shoes with this outfit, and vice versa. So, it's ask them what you are always talking about, because you may not realize that that's the thing that you can easily share upon a lot and never get tired of talking about. So that's your first step. After that, do your research, because there are grants and things out there. If it wasn't for the Viscardi Center, I wouldn't have known about the SBDC. But they've existed longer. I could have gotten this help years ago. So do your research, and be willing to try something and be willing to fail. So then, and that's the hard thing, because again, when it comes to disability, we hold ourselves to this. I think, well, it may be just me, but I've known myself to kind of think that I have to be at a different level than someone else, because I still have to prove that sitting in my wheelchair, I can do all these other things. You have to decide what your line is, what you're defining success as, what you are defining, okay, you reached that milestone today. If you need to take a break because your disability is your body has decided, no, you're not working today, then that's what you do. I realize I can't sit in front of my computer for 6 hours a day. It doesn't stop me from trying, but I have to do social media engagement. So I've decided I will sit on my couch and be answering like text messages and things on my phone. I was getting my hair done at one point, and I'm sending emails. So like you have to figure out how these things work for you, and who knows, it's gonna be like a funny story that you could be sharing one day. Just go with it, and don't try to think that everything's gonna work out in a perfect plan, because it's not, and you're gonna have fun with it, even when it drives you crazy.
That's beautiful. I can't think of a better way to wrap the show than that. That was amazing advice. I can't thank you enough for taking your time. I know we ran into some problems with scheduling and stuff, and so, but your persistence, our highly motivated sense of like, I really want to talk to Kimberly, eventually led to this happening. And so between you, Kimberly, and Christina, obviously you're both amazing women. And so thank you, Christina, for coming and being a part of this. And, obviously with Kimberly, who you've been helping. But Kimberly, oh my gosh, like your story is incredible. It's such an inspiration, overcoming obstacles, and the way that you went about it is just, there's nothing left to be said. You've said it perfectly. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me and making my first podcast experience a memorable one.
Perfect. I guess the last thing, my final question, I promise this is an easy one.
Okay.
Where can people where can people follow you, see what you have going on? And we'll just touch on the website one more time.
Well, my website is sittingbeauty.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Sitting Beauty Magazine, for that Instagram handle. And I also have my other Instagram account, which is bigger because that's where I started, at Kimberly__Minto.
Perfect. There it is, people. There it is. Get in touch. Again, thank you. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.